Land Supply Options Walkthrough. Land Supply Public-Private Partnership.
This series of animated short films serve to introduce and explain the various land supply options under the public engagement exercise of the Task Force on Land Supply. Two animated characters, a man and a little girl, are walking through different scenes in the film, explaining the pros and cons as well as the considerations for each land supply option. There are 12 episodes in total. This is the 4th episode, Public-Private Partnership. The animated man and little girl are wearing overalls and rain boots. The little girl is also wearing a hat and holding a garden trowel in her hand. Both of them jump onto a cloud and fly around. Land supply option, Public-Private Partnership.
By rough guesstimate, private developers are believed to be holding no less than 1,000 hectares of agricultural land in the new territories, which constitute a quarter of the existing land area for housing use in Hong Kong. While the government is making every effort to identify and create land, some suggest to tap into the private land reserve and consider ways to unlock and even enhance the development potential of these private lands.
The two characters walk along the rural area in the new territories and walk past two signboards which indicate land resumption by the government. The areas developed therefrom has school and other community buildings. After that, they see a building representing private developers, holding a signboard in its hand which writes application, representing application for rezoning, land exchange or lease modification.
Other than the existing ways to trigger statutory process to resume private land by the government, or for the private developments to initiate changes to the use of agricultural land through lease modification or land exchange applications, it has been suggested the government could help unlock the potential of private land through public-private partnership. How does PPP work? Some say that because of inadequate provision of infrastructures, it is difficult to optimize privately owned agricultural land in the new territories for high-density housing. These lands could only turn into small-scale and low-density housing or some brownfield operations. Hence, the land resources will not be fully utilized. So if private developers were to contribute their land and the government to provide infrastructural support, there could be uplift in the development intensity of the wider area, including the private farmlands for more housing.
A building appears on the left, representing private developers. Another building on the right represents the government. Each building has a big water pipe connecting to a huge water main in the middle on the ground. The private developer's building inputs land into the water pipe, while the government building inputs infrastructure like potable water and roads. Eventually, a cluster of high-density housing emerged from the water main.
There must be give and take, hence under the public-private partnership. The private developer should undertake to build a certain portion of affordable housings within the projects to meet the pressing housing needs. Furthermore, private developers should be required to pay the full land premium for modifying the land use. If there is community support to explore these directions for public-private partnership, it may help release underutilized private land resources and boost the land supply in the short to medium term. But whether the scheme could eventually work depends on the willingness of private developers and, more importantly, a set of fair, open and transparent mechanisms and objective standards to be devised by the government for objective assessment of the potential collaboration. Tapping into private lands could help relieve the strong housing demand to some extent. What do you think? How can we do it in an open, fair and transparent manner? Check out www.landforhongkong.hk and share your opinions.
Super! To be continued. Land for Hong Kong. Our home, our say. Task Force on Land Supply. Website www.landforhongkong.hk. The end.